Hi guys, this is Vineet, and this video we will discuss about the overview of databases. So before we proceed ahead, I would request you guys to please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell notification icons to and select all notifications to get notifications regarding all my future videos. So let's go back to the topic. And before we proceed to the topic, there are a few points I would like you guys to remember. So I would request you guys to please watch my video till the end to gain better clarity of the concept. And if it's possible for you, please watch the video twice and do the exercises in your lab environment. And we would like to know your thoughts regarding our video. So please share your comments and also share this video with your friends. Let's go back to the topic, which is the overview of the databases. So let me go back to notes. There are some terms we would like to discuss. So first term is a database. So what is a database? Database is made up of collection of tables that contains a specific set of structured data. So let me give you an example of database. I'm opening up the SQL Server default instance installed on my machine. So it's opening up. Let's wait for it to open. So once it will open, I will show you what a database is. So we are connected to our SQL Server Management Studio. Let's connect to the default instance of SQL Server. Expand on the databases section. So this section contains the databases. So worldwide importers is one of the user databases installed on this machine. So this is an example of databases. It contains a series of tables here under the table section. So this is what we were discussing in this notes. So a database is made up of collection of tables that stores a specific set of structured data. Now what is a table? A table is a collection of rows also known as records or tuples, and there are columns as well in the table also known as the attributes. And each column in a table is designed to store specific type of data. For example, specific type of data can be either dates, names, text, money, etc. This can be these are known as specific type of data. So let me show you example of table. So here under the table section we have multiple tables in there. So we can open any of the table, right click on the table, select top 1000 rows. It will give you the data stored in the table. So these 1000 rows are also called tuples or records. And over the top, if you see, there are certain columns like person ID, first name, full name maybe, preferred name, search name. These are the columns, or also known as the attributes. And each column contains a specific type of data. For example, search name contains the textual type of data, varchar type of data, and some contains the numeric type of data. So these are the type of data. Now let's talk about the instances. On a single machine, you can install multiple instances of SQL Server. In our machine, for example, we only have a default instance of SQL Server installed on this machine. Let me show you quickly. So in order to do that, you need to open the services console. If you go to services console, you can select the SQL Server services. So here, if I talk about this service, this is a default instance of SQL Server, which has name MS SQL Server. The service running. So in case you have multiple instances of SQL Server running on this machine, you will see multiple services with the name SQL Server. But the instance name would be different. Instead of MS SQL Server, you will see something else. All right, let's go back to schemas. So what are schemas? So under each database, there are one or more object ownership groups called schemas. So what are schemas basically? These are object ownership groups. And within each schema, there are database objects such as tables, views, or stores procedure. Now let me show you where are the schemas in the database. So if you take a look at the table section, you see their table name application.cities or application.countries. So what is application over here? It is a schema. So what is a schema? Schema is the ownership group. So application is an ownership group over here, and cities, countries, delivery method, these are tables under that ownership group. And similar to application, there are also other schemas like purchasing, sales, warehouse. These are all schemas. Let's go back to next topic, which is certificates and asymmetric keys. So what all things comes under schema? Table name can become under schema, views can come under schema, and store procedure can come under schemas. Now let's talk about the certificate and asymmetric keys, which do not come under any of the schemas. And these are basically objects contained within a database but are not contained within a specific schema. Next topic is files. What are files in SQL Server? So basically the SQL databases are stored in files. File can be grouped into file groups. Now let me show you the example of files. So for example, if we talk about the files for worldwide importer database, we want to know where the worldwide importers database is stored in which particular file. So you may go to properties, expand this window, go to the file section. So these are the files pertaining to the worldwide importers database. So it uses the two rows data type file type, and one is a file stream data type file type, and one is a log file type. So this is location where files are stored. So if you go to this location, you can copy this location, open that via the folder structure, go to this location. So this location contains the file. So these are the files pertaining to worldwide importers, these three files, the LDF, MDF, and user data NDF. There are three files pertaining to that worldwide importers database. Now let's go back to the next topic, cancel this out. So this basically, the files indicate that the worldwide importers data is stored within these files. Let's go back to the next topic, so which is the SQL login. When people gain access to the instance of the SQL server, they are identified as logins. And when people gain access to the database, they are identified as database user. So there's a difference between the SQL Server login and SQL Server user. So I hope you got the clarity. So what is a login? If a person is able to connect to the SQL Server but not able to access any database, that access to the particular instance of SQL Server is known as SQL login. So let me show you where the logins are stored. So at the SQL Server level, you see under security there are logins. So there's my account over here, which is a login. It has access to the instance of the SQL Server. So these are basically logins. There are multiple created over here. This one is mine, and these are logins. So what are database users? So if you go under worldwide importers, there's a section for security. So under that there's a users. So these are basically roles, not the users. So DBO is a role. So DBO can any of the database owners who has created this database can access this database. Under that, you can create new users as well who can gain access to this database. So now to do that, you need to do a new user to open a new user visit, and you need to specify the user who requires access to this database. Let's go back to the permissions. A user that has access to a database can be given permission to access the objects in the database. So that is quite clear. A user which have access to a database can be given permission to access the object in the database. Permission can be granted to individual users. However, it is recommended to create database roles. So earlier we were discussing about DBO. Now that DBO is a role, not a individual user. So here the permission is granted to a DBO role to gain access to this database. So this one is a role. So there are various other roles as well. We will talk about roles later in much detail. For now, the DBA user has access to this database, or DBA role has access to this database. Let's go back to the notes. So basically, it is not preferred to grant permissions to individual users. Instead, we create roles, and we can add multiple users to a single role, and we directly provide permissions to the roles, which affect all the users that are coming under those roles. This basically makes the permission management easier as the number of users grow. Now, what is SSMS? So SSMS is a tool which is SQL Server Management Studio. You see this tool? This is a SQL Server Management Studio tool. And people can use SQL Server Management Studio tool to work with the databases. It is a basically graphical user interface for creating and storing objects in the database. And it consists of a query editor for writing T-SQL statements. So what is a query editor? So on the right hand side over this area, this is a query editor window. So here you can write various kind of queries against the database and run them to get the data. Let's go back to the, so we have shown you demo for all these concepts. I hope you got the clarity, and I hope these terms are easy to understand. So in case you have any doubts, you can write back to me and I will try to answer them. And I thank you for your time on this video, and please subscribe to my channel, hit on the bell notification icons to get notifications regarding all my future videos. Please share this video with your friends and do like this video if you really liked it. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.